Hey everyone, welcome back. So this is week 2 of level 2 class in January with me, Liz. I'm your teacher, so I'm so excited we're all here together today. So in this class, we're going to try to reconnect with our dance posture, remind ourselves of all of the important points that we need to be focusing on for posture. And we're going to do that through working on this beautiful pivot bump family variation step called reach and sit. So this step has this really beautiful expansion and release and back into our posture. And I think by the end of this class, you're really going to love this step and try to add it back into your repertoire, because I really don't see a lot of people using this anymore. This is part of what we'd consider our classic FCBD vocabulary. And so we're going to start off with a very classic sounding song. All right, let me spotlight myself and we'll get started. Woo! Feels good to warm up. All right, inhale, arms up. Exhale, arms down. Turn the palms to the wall when the arms come down. Good, inhale, arms up. Exhale, turn the palms to the wall. Squeeze in the middle back. Let the arms hang, pick up the shoulders. Inhale, roll back, and exhale as you let the shoulders fall down. Inhale, pick up the shoulders, roll them back, exhale, as they roll down. Change direction. Pick them up from the back, roll forward. Exhale as they come down. Inhale, arms up. And exhale, down. Good. Stretching out the right side. So bring the right arm up, step back with the right foot. So I'm gonna put my weight on the right foot, reaching up and over. Or you can hold this hand out, whichever you'd like to do. So I want you to really feel that opening in the side body. Lift that rib cage up just a little bit more, and even try to squeeze on this side to open up that right side. Good, and come back to center. Step back with the left foot, reach up with the left arm. So put my weight into the left foot, right foot's just for balance. Really reach up. And now over. So feel that stretch from the hip. Feel it really stretching up out of the hip, up through the, what is this? The front of the armpit. Pressing the outside of the left foot into the floor, and you can feel that in the IT band on the outside of the left leg. Now squeeze over here in this right side to really open the left side. Good, and come back to center slowly. Good. Bring hands to heart center, open them wide, contract the middle back, open the heart. Bring the right arm across the front, pull it in towards you, wiggle the fingers, pressing this right shoulder down. At this point, soften the knees, wiggle the hips. Inhale, arms up. Keep those hips a-wiggling. Bring the left arm across the front, pull it in towards you. Keep wiggling the hips, wiggle the fingers, press the shoulders down. Chin level. Good, and release, and let's take the hips on a big circular journey to the left, front, right, back, left, front, right, back. And change direction, right, front, left, back, right, front, left, back. Standing on the left foot, bring the right foot forward, hinging over at the hips to stretch out the back of the right leg. You can brace yourself above the knee on the left side and come down as much as feels good for you until you feel that stretch. You can even grab the right toe and pull it towards you. Breathe it through it. Good, and press the foot down, slowly roll up, arching the back here, getting some good stretching between the shoulder blades. Good, so step back with the left foot, pressing into the back foot, contracting the glutes, coming up on the ball of the back foot. So we're opening the front of the hip here. So contracting the glutes, you're really releasing this curve in the back, contracting the low belly, softening the knees, keeping the shoulders pressed down. Good, and now bring the left foot forward. So stretching over, contracting low belly, just hinging at the hips, and you can bend over as much as you want to until you feel the stretch here. If you want to amplify that, you can grab the foot and pull it towards you. Good, press the foot down, slowly roll up, really opening the space between the shoulder blades. Good, widen your step if you want to. Pressing into this back foot, come up on the ball of the foot, contract low belly, release low back, and contract the glutes. Now we're opening the right front hip. Inhale, arms up. Hands come down through the center. Inhale, arms up. Hands down through the center. Good. Shake it out. And gratitude. Get into a mind space of gratitude. Gesturing for the space that we're in. Enlightenment. The surface beneath us. The music that moves us. The floor, the earth, the surface beneath us. Bring your hands together in front of your forehead for your teachers. and in front of your heart for your ancestors. Gesture out for everyone we dance with and everyone we will dance for. Gracefully gather all those elements that make it possible for us to dance today and bring that into your heart. Nice. So when I like to start out at the beginning of the year, it's always nice to talk about what are some of the really important aspects of fat jazz belly dance style that we need to be thinking about all the time. So posture is really important because it helps us to do the steps properly to where we won't feel any injury, have any injuries, or have any pain in our bodies. And I think if you're dancing right now, then you're doing great, because stay moving, keeping dancing, super important, and we want to dance smart. So two really important things here are keeping the knees soft, not locked, not at a deep lunge, but soft. Okay, so finding what it feels like in your body for your knees to be soft, and keep reminding yourself to get your knees soft. So sometimes what happens when we balance on one leg, in essence what we're doing tonight, is we tend to lock that leg for more strength and stability. But as dancers, you're going to have so much more strength than the average person because you are stabilizing yourself and engaging all your muscles with a soft knee. So most people can just lock their knee and use that to stabilize themselves, but you're having to stabilize yourself and not use the strength of the knee locked. Okay, so this makes you even stronger. And our mid-back contraction here is super important. It helps to keep your chest lifted. So if my chest wasn't lifted, this is what I would look like. So go evaluate yourself in the mirror when next time you get into the mirror and go, what does it look like? What does it feel like if I'm not contracted in the back? What does it look like? What does it feel like if I am contracted in the back? Because seeing yourself in the mirror lifted and then feeling yourself in your body lifted are in essence two different things. So we have to be able to get to a point where we can feel our posture in our body and know, oh, I am out of posture. I need to come back into posture without seeing yourself. But sometimes you get a glimpse in the mirror, it'll remind you as well. But if you release the low back and straighten the knees, you might feel some discomfort or some tension in the low back. So that will remind you that I want to contract low belly and release low back. And remember, we're not contracting our glutes at all. We have two contractions in the torso. That's in the middle back to lift the chest, and in the low belly to release the curve in the low back. And both of these, working on opposite sides of the body, really strengthen the posture. And also these two contractions help us isolate. So that's exactly where we're going tonight, is this foundation of posture helps us to isolate, and we isolate in almost every step in the FCBD belly dance repertoire. So what isolation means is I'm going to bump my hip and I'm not going to let the rest of my body move. So this is not isolation. We all agree? So this is isolation. So I could balance a delicate china cup on my head and still have a hip that is bouncing with the beat of a fast song, and very, very well done, I might add. So eye contact is another element here that is just so basic. But when we're dancing together, eye contact could make or break whether a follower is really understanding what a leader is trying to communicate. So in level 2, you're practicing at being a leader by practicing the cues. So every time I do a cue, I want you to do a cue in the class. And we're also trying to remind ourselves about posture, and you're practicing being a follower. So as a follower, I want you to go ahead and do the cues. because when you lead, you need to be ready to give a cue. So isolation, eye contact, posture. So let's fall into our posture. So feet flat, knees soft, low back. I want you to eliminate the curve in the low back by contracting the low belly. No contraction at all here in the glutes. Contract the middle back to lift the chest. Roll the shoulders back and down, chin level, nice soft curve in the arms, whether they are at countertop, overhead, or on either side of the hips, and elbows nice and open and lifted. Okay? So let's jump into this pivot bump variation. So it's called reach and sit. It's a 2-count movement. We are in the same foot relationship as we were if you were in beginner class on Tuesday. We broke down the pivot bump family. So the pivot bump family, 90% of your weight is in your left foot, which is flat. 10% of your weight is in your right foot, which is on the ball. So the right foot is pushing the right hip up by pressing into the floor. So try it with me. I want you to press your right foot into the floor and straighten, but not locking the right leg to lift the hip, and then releasing it and pressing the right foot into the floor, lifting the hip and releasing it, pressing the right foot into the floor, lifting the hip and releasing it. So anytime we're lifting the hip, when we release it, we want to release it even with the other hip. The whole time we want to keep the spine nice and long. We want to keep the contraction in the low belly, the contraction in the middle back, because that helps to keep the rib cage lifted. Keeping the rib cage lifted and the contraction in the middle back helps you to isolate this hip movement and not let the bounce come all the way up to the top of the head. So I want you to feel where that right foot needs to be directly under your hip. I don't want my right foot out here because that's not going to really power my hip, because my leg is already straight and extended if it's out. I don't want it back here. I don't want it out to the side. I want the right foot directly under the hip so I can really use the most effective energy in the body. I'm not working too hard, because seriously, if your right foot is extended to the front, to the back, to the side, you're working harder than you need to be. So we all want to save our energy, work as efficiently as possible, and put all of our focus and energy into what really matters. So that you want to keep everything aligned. So the right foot, right hip over it, underneath the right shoulders, the rib cage, the shoulders, the rib cage. So now what becomes really important is the left side of the body is the stability side. So I have to keep this left knee soft to maintain this bounce, to isolate this bounce, to maintain this beautiful posture I have here. So really extended spine, lifted rib cage, chin level, and left knee soft. So that left knee needs to stay soft, because if you now lock the left knee and push your right hip up with the right foot. So do you feel all this movement coming up into the rib cage, the shoulders, the head, the arms? Everything's bouncing. And now soften that left knee again and bounce the right hip, and realize how important that is. So what we're doing for reach and sit is, let me show it to you, which I know you guys all know it, but it looks like this: 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I just want to build that firm foundation of this is how we isolate. Soft knees, lifted chest, contracted low belly, contracted middle back, chin level. So with the feet, I'm going to press into the right foot and push the hip up and twist it forward, and then I'm going to release it. You have two options here. You can either keep the ball of the right foot on the floor, or you can lift it off the floor. So if you want to lift your foot off the floor, just make sure it's not this gigantic kick. So for other styles, there's a big kick that are associated with similar steps like this, but for Fat Chance Belly Dance style, we are not kicking our right foot out. So try it with me. So get into dance posture. So pushing the hip up and forward and releasing it. Pushing the hip up and forward, release. Push the hip up and forward, release. So this is a swivel basically. So you're in essence doing the right side of the swivel step. Release, forward, release, pressing into the right foot, release. So I'm pressing into the right foot, rotating my leg, rotating this hip forward and up into the left front corner of my dance box, okay? So I am here, I'm facing my dance angle, and I am twisting my right hip up to this front left corner and then releasing it back down. Twisting it up to the front left corner and releasing it back down. So the right hip, the whole right side of the body is kind of swinging and trying to control this right hip. And then the whole left side of the body is anchored. So another thing I want you to think about is put your fingers on your hips. So as I'm twisting my hip forward, I don't want to release it and sit into this left hip. I want you to pretend like you've got this barrier. So I'm going to release the hip and my hips stay even and I don't push out to the side. Okay. All right. So try it with me. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Feels pretty good? So I really want to see twist here, okay? So make sure you do these stretches, so we can make sure these side obliques are going to be pliable and let us move our hips and twist our hips around, okay? Because I really want to see this twist in the hip. So the right hip lifts up and over, swiveling, and then comes back to where it started. So this is the reach part, and this is the sit part. So when I mean sit right back where it was, not sit over here, yeah? So arms are going to start off with our nice big rounded arms on countertop, and they're gonna reach over to the right. Right hand is gonna be slightly higher than the shoulder, and then they're gonna sit back to the center. Reach to the right, sit back to the center. So I want you to see this activeness here when I'm going to contract in the right shoulder blade, and you're going to feel that latissimus muscle connecting and pulling, and then I'm just going to sit them back down. This is more passive. So active, passive, active, passive, active, passive, active, passive. So we're going to reach to our right front corner of our box at the same time as my right hip is twisting this way. So when the right hip twists this way, you're going to hold your upper body parallel to the front or as much as you can, and I'm going to reach out to the right side. And this is when I feel that latissimus, because it's really contracting here and connecting with the back of the arm. So let's put it together. Reach out to the right, twist the right hip to the left, and then sit back to the center. Reach, sit, reach, sit, reach, sit. So another thing I want to talk about is the hands. So our hands are going to move around the finger cymbals like so. So they're going to move up and over, palms face to the side, and then back to where you were. So up and over, palms face to the side, and then back to where you were, which generally my palms start facing down. So when you have your finger cymbals on, you can see how the hands are going to move around the finger cymbals, but they don't go underneath the finger cymbals because that's what happens. And we don't want elbows pointing to the floor, right? So we're just going to keep our palms facing to the side or down, reach, sit, reach, sit, reach, sit. And it's a bit of an optical illusion that we're reaching out to the left. We're really not. You're just sitting your arms back down into the center. So it's not a reach and a reach, it's a reach and a sit. So I think having the finger cymbals on really helps us feel the weight of the cymbals when our hands move around them, and your hands moving around the finger cymbals is the most efficient way to move the body. So the next thing we're going to add on is the pivot. So we're always going to pivot over the left shoulder, and the right foot is going to be driving it. So we're going to drop we're going to pull ourselves with the right foot and then drop all our weight back into the left leg, and then put our right foot forward and pull ourselves around like so. You want to try it with me? 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left, and go again. Right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. So I really love this step. It's got so much attitude and it's so much fun. And if you do feel like, so now we're about to go into a drill, and if you do feel like your back muscles are getting tired or your arms are getting tired, you're not using your back enough if your arms are getting tired. So let's talk about raising the arms up. How do we tap into those back muscles? So contract the back and then sit the arms, squeeze the middle of the back and sit the arms back down onto those nice strong back muscles. Okay, we want our elbows to be stable. So let's pretend like we're on countertop and our elbows stay where they are and just our forearms move. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. So I'm not going like this. That kind of looks like a Muppet when we're trying to keep the upper part of the arm and the elbows stable, and just the forearm, just from the elbow out to the fingers, moves. All right. Any questions so far? Okay. So our first drill is swivel step with a half turn. And then we're going to go into reach and sit, establish the step, and then we'll pivot it. And then let's come out of that and go into a pivot bump, and then into an Arabic or rhythmic undulation step. And let's pivot that to the right, lots of pivoting, and then go back into reach and sit. So let's look at that together before I ask anybody to lead that. Okay. All right, so we're looking at a swivel step. So this is a vertical shape, and then half turn it and bring some interest because we can flip to the front and the back. So I need to change the step when I come to the front. So I'm immediately going to pull the arms down, anchor myself on my left foot, and get right into my dance angle. Take as long as I want for a reach and sit, and then I'm going to pivot it around. And then I'll lift my arms up and I'll start bumping my hip and sweep the right arm. And you can pivot with this if you want to. Anytime you want to pivot, you can, if it's a pivotable step. Then I'm going to raise the right arm up and come into my rhythmic undulation. And then I want to pivot to the right because it gives it some texture here. Okay? And I can then go on count 2, the last count of the rhythmic undulation, lower my left foot flat, and then bring my arms down and go into reach and set. And I'm trying to do single bump. So it's swivel, half turn, reach and sit, pivot, arms up, sweep for a pivot bump. And it's kind of nice if you go to the right here to give it some texture. And then since my arms are split, I can just take my arms down for rhythmic undulation, pivot to the right. And then I'm going to go 1 flat on 2, bring the arms down, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, and pivot. and then back into swivel. And you can also use your swivel to move forward. And then at the end, or towards the end of this, you can use the rhythmic undulation to move back. If you want to create a little texture moving forward and back with your group on the stage. How does that sound?
Very interesting.
Yeah. Who would like to lead?
I have it written down if you want me to.
Yeah,
Yes.
that'd be great. So you can vary it up. You don't have to do it the exact same way every single time. You can add a pivot or not add a pivot, or decide to go forward or decide to move back. But what I want you to work on is just the core technique for reach and sit that we've talked about. So that's just what I want you to focus on in our first drill. So don't stress about it. All right, thanks, Jen. Okay, so I'm going to change spotlight to Jen. And reach and sit, it's one of those steps that it really needs some time in the song to develop this big swing, this big swivel of the hip. So I do like songs that have a little bit more of a medium tempo. All right, here we go.
Welcome to W2 Academy. We'll be starting here in about 4 minutes. If you could let me know how the sound is by typing.
Thank you, Jen. That was awesome. Somebody was talking. Was that one of you guys? Somebody was saying, I don't know about the sound, if you could just let me know by typing.
Yeah, that was weird, but it wasn't us, we promise. We were
Did y'all
not
hear
speaking
that?
a word.
That was strange.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you for leading, Jen. So how was it following Jen?
There was one point where it looked like there was a forward and back shimmy, but we might have been misinterpreting.
I saw it too. It wasn't in the drill, but Jen might have decided to just throw it in there.
Yeah,
We're
that's what
paying
I
attention.
wondered.
I realized that
Yes.
my body had not spanned correctly, and that was the way to fall into something natural with my mistake. So, yes.
So so you did a different step before it, or you found the transition wasn't working, is that right?
I think with some of the transitions, because like you said, I don't use this stuff a lot. So I felt like I was trying to go into the reach and sit, and I realized it wasn't going to happen. So rather than have it look like it wasn't going to happen, I was like, well, let's just go to something that looks like it is going to happen.
Yeah. This is an interesting arm position because I feel like we're in a very similar arm position for the forward and back shimmy, and also for the hip twist. And oftentimes, all these arm positions for these steps get confused. So it's real important to be real specific. So it was good that you guys could figure out, oh, she's doing a forward back shimmy. So you knew exactly what she was doing there. So obviously you're doing a good job, Jen, of distinguishing between the two. And it would be impossible to put any of those three steps together, like the hip twist, the forward back, reach and sit. I would not put them together back to back. I would have a step to separate them. And Jillian agrees. She's nodding her head. But I thought that was really good. What I would like to see from everyone is more power in the twist of the hip. Yeah. And that's something that when you try to push more power into the hips, the arms can suffer. So you have to get really adamant about contracting here and making these arms really strong so you can really punch that hip more and have a bigger twist. Have you guys seen that step where you lay on the floor and you kind of twist your knees to the other side and you keep your arms out and look to the opposite side? So I think steps like that twist the torso really well and help to kind of open up these tight areas, because what's very possible is you could be kind of have some tight obliques or tight hips that are not allowing you to really, but see, I'm seeing like the arms go and these like real tiny kind of holding back hips. So I'd love it if you could connect in with your hips and really try to swing that hip forward and up. Yeah. How did everybody feel about the right foot? What is your right foot doing? Some of you, I couldn't see your feet. Good, good. Thanks, Deborah. I think that looks good, Jen. Good, Jillian. Deborah, you could minimize that kick just a little bit more, but I like how much twist you have in the hip. Andrea, that looked good. Okay, good. I think everybody just make sure you don't over kick it, because it looks, because we want our audience to focus on the hips rather than this foot kicking out of the, this like foot flying out front and kicking your skirt. But that looked really good, you guys. So now let's put this together with the double bump and single bump from last week. And tell me, how would you transition from the double bump to the reach and sit? Go into the double bump. Double bump. So you don't want time to pass. You're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah? Yeah, so it's going to be pretty quick. You're going to go from the right arm up here, right arm down, and then you'll take this right arm out and bring the left arm down to your countertop height. So it's a noticeable transition. Do you guys agree? Yeah? So that would be doable to go from double bump to reach and sit. But would you put single bump and reach and sit together? Would you do the single bump? So try it real quick and then try to go into the reach and sit. And of course you can do it, but is it a smooth transition or is it too similar? If you were following someone, would you be able to tell the difference? No, because the arms are too similar. And that's going to fall into that category of forward back shimmy, the hip twist, reach and sit, and single bump. Their arms are just too similar. So you would have to separate them with another step, like something that would bring the arms up, like a rhythmic undulation or a swivel step. So we're not going to put those together, but anything with a big arm change is going to equal success. Okay, because we have to think about, even if you don't like leading or you haven't been leading, you still need to think about, how does the transition between this step and that step that I'm doing, how is that perceived by the people that are following me? Am I setting them up for success by putting two successful steps together? Or am I making everybody confused by putting single bump and reach and sit together? I don't know. Anyway, so now let's look at another drill. So we've got, let me grab my board. Now we've got double bump. We're going to start off with that. So I just wrote DB. Then reach and sit and pivot, because honestly, every time we do reach and sit, there's a 95% chance we're going to pivot unless the music changes. And then we're going to, this is almost like a cool drink of water or an exit out to do a rhythmic undulation step after reach and sit. So this is a real common exit out of it, is to put that, because the arms going down and up creates a nice vertical shape afterwards. And then we can go into our single bump. So we can use a different texture of movement if we move the single bump forward. And then we can do our Egyptian or swivel step back. And then we can go into our swivel step half turn and then come out and do reach and sit. So I really love to come out of the half turn and do reach and sit. So that is the drill. Double bump, reach and sit, rhythmic undulation, single bump, swivel, half turn, reach and sit, and then back to double bump. So reach and sit going into double bump, what would that look like? Try it out. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. And I bring that right arm up. So you really want to make a dramatic impact with bringing that right arm up. And then that extension on the right side of the body with the right hip going forward and the right arm going back. And also here, we really want to contract into this right shoulder blade. So you could either kind of just hold it there, or we could go really squeeze and open here, because I need you to keep this right shoulder open to the front, even though you're twisting the right hip forward. Same thing for double bump. Really open that right shoulder, because in essence, the same action is happening. The right hip is going forward and the right arm is holding or anchoring the upper body to the front. Anybody want to lead the next drill? So the goal of this drill is to put our single bump and double bump with the reach and sit.
I'll put my hand up.
Thank you, Jillian. I appreciate it. All right, I'm going to spotlight Jillian. And let's look at another song that's not super fast, nice medium tempo. How about the Jan2024 Drum Spider? Okay, here we go. Great. How did it feel?
Sorry, I thought the ending was coming a bit sooner than
I noticed that. That was a very clear cue that you thought the ending was there. Awesome.
I'm glad we're doing this stuff, mixing it up, because I think my muscle memory is fighting me. It's used to doing just different combos, whether I know it or not. And so Jillian's being very clear, but I find myself having to go like, what's happening?
Yeah.
He's not wanting to do it, so it's good.
Well, you're putting different steps together, just like you're saying. It's interesting how we build that muscle memory of this is the step that I want to do after the swivel step, and this is the step I want to do after the swivel step half turn. But there's all these other steps that you could do. You just get in a habit. So that's
It's also like
perfect
dancing
example.
with people that you're not always dancing with,
It's
because
true.
when you've got your own crew, you kind of know what their favorite things are.
That's
So
why I
that's
love
what I
dancing
love
with other
about,
people.
yeah. So I
Yeah.
love the online classes, because
Yeah.
it expands your mind, I think. Well, it
Yeah.
expands mine.
I am so glad you're here. All right, so I'm going to spotlight myself because I want to talk about the arms real quick before we end class. So Deborah and Andrea, what I see is you're really letting this left arm go out. And I don't want that. I want you to stop. So get up and stand up in front of the camera. Okay, so put your arms, make a nice soft curve, put your arms out in front, hands and elbows at shoulder height, press the shoulders down. Okay, now reach to the right. So my right hand is going towards the front right corner of my box. My left hand is in front of my left shoulder. And now bring them back to the center. So now both hands are a little bit wider than your shoulder width. So this left hand isn't going there and the right hand isn't going there. We're reaching to the right and sitting it back. So visualize you've got a gigantic bowl of popcorn. You're going to reach for it. You're going to sit it right in front of you. You're not reaching for the popcorn and passing it to someone else. You want popcorn, right? You reach it, you sit it in front of you. You eat it. You enjoy it. Don't give it away. Okay? There's my technique note post drill. I'm going to go make some popcorn. No, it sounds good. So that there, you've got to find that. You've got to find that in yourself to reach, sit, reach, sit. And when you reach, Andrea, take that right hand up just a little bit higher than shoulder height, and then bring it back down to shoulder height. Reach, sit, reach. Uh-oh. I see something else. Look at my hand and look at your right hand. You're going flop. If you turn your palm up, you're going to get the pointed down elbow. So this is causing us to be more aware of our elbows. So elbows sit on the counter, elbows reach over, not turn the palm up because you want to reach for the bowl, and then bring it back in front of you. So you're moving your hand around your finger symbols like almost like a rainbow over the finger symbols. And that'll segue into our next class, which is going to be about the rainbow. So I'm going to let my hands stop here. So my palms are facing the left side, and then they're going to come back to facing down. So if you over rotate your entire arm, you lose that entire strength. What we're trying to go for is this really engaged number one, and then a more passive number two. But if you over rotate the arm, you're not gonna get that. And you just can't support your popcorn bowl if you over rotate the arm. Ha, 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 ha. So keep working on it this week. Try to do this class another time. And I'll see you next week if you're dropping off here for level 2. Thank you so much. Please make sure you do some stretches. Stretch. Twist and stretch. Maybe do that laying on the floor stretch that I was talking about. Bye, Deborah. Thank you. Great level 2. I hope you guys enjoyed it.